We call it a yoo-hoo, and we yoo-hooed and yoo-hooed, and no. Never hear.
In the world of true crime, some stories dig deep into your soul, refusing to let go. Today we explore one such story, a haunting mystery that stretches over decades, centered around two innocent young girls, Jennifer Bastian and Michaela Welch. Some stories stand out, not only for their heartbreaking nature, but also for the creepy and disturbing connections that bind them. This is the case with the heartbreaking tales of two young girls, Jennifer Bastian and Michaela Welsh, who lived in Tacoma, Washington in the mid-1980s. Although their paths had never crossed in life, their stories are intertwined with a dark and mysterious thread. A thread that leads to a disturbing and shocking revelation. Stay with us until the end as we unfold a web of dark secrets, relentless investigations, and ultimately justice served. This story will leave you both deeply moved and profoundly intrigued by the resilience of communities and the relentless pursuit of the truth. So, let's get started. Picture this. It was a hot summer's day in 1986, where the sun was scorching and the air felt like it was on fire. On this particular day, a 13-year-old girl named Jennifer Bastian, full of curiosity and boundless energy, embarked on a journey that would change her life and the lives of those who loved her. Jennifer's adventure began in Tacoma, her hometown. Armed with just her trusty bicycle and a burning desire to get ready for an upcoming bike tour, she set out. Little did she know that this seemingly ordinary day would lead her down a path she could never have foreseen. Jennifer's parents received a note from her, written in blue ink, with the simple promise, "I'll be back by 6:30 p.m. Jennifer was determined to get in shape for her bike tour, and she had the perfect place for training in mind, Point Defiance Park. This place was like a natural playground for her, with winding trails and a famous 5-mile drive loop that cyclists adored. On that sunny day, Jennifer pedaled her bicycle into the park, her spirit shining as brightly as the sun overhead. Tall trees formed a shady canopy, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, creating a peaceful atmosphere. Jennifer wasn't alone. She crossed paths with other park visitors, strangers who would soon be connected to her story. Taking a break, she removed her helmet, revealing her determination. To those who crossed paths with Jennifer on that fateful day, she appeared just as another carefree young girl, blissfully pedaling through the park. Her bright spirit shone as brightly as the sun overhead. It was a day like any other, or so it seemed. Time ticked on, and the sun dipped lower. An ominous sense of worry crept into the hearts of those who cared about her. Jennifer was nowhere to be seen at home by the promised hour of 6:30 p.m, and with every passing minute, her parents' anxiety grew heavier. The clock ticked ominously towards 8:30 p.m, and her parents, filled with dread, decided it was time to call the police. This phone call marked the beginning of a search that would become a race against time. Point Defiance Park, once joyful, became the backdrop for Jennifer's baffling disappearance. Hope faded, replaced by uncertainty. The community and police searched tirelessly, but found no clues. Weeks passed, burdening her family and the city, yearning for answers and closure. A search of the park and its vicinity was conducted, an extensive canvassing of the area, yet it yielded no clues or traces. The initial despairing days stretched into weeks, casting a pall of uncertainty over Jennifer's disappearance. Then, a fortnight later, on the somber date of August the 28th, fate took a cruel turn. As a jogger wandered along some paths in the quiet woods near the place where Jennifer was last seen, something made him stop in his tracks. There, in the stillness of the forest, an unsettling and strong odour filled the air, like a haunting signal pointing towards something dreadful. Hidden beneath a covering of leaves and branches, Jennifer's lifeless body lay concealed. Only the eerie smell hinted at the grim discovery awaiting the jogger, urging them to investigate further. It was a moment of terrible revelation in an otherwise peaceful woodland, a moment that would change the course of the investigation into Jennifer's disappearance. The scene was shockingly orderly, as if someone had carefully planned everything before, leaving Jennifer's lifeless body in this lonely thicket. Nearby, her abandoned bicycle stood like a solemn guardian, a stark reminder of the tragic events that had unfolded. When an autopsy was conducted, it revealed a horrifying picture of Jennifer's last moments. She had suffered a brutal assault, enduring unspeakable cruelty at the hands of her attacker. Her life was tragically cut short through suffocation, a grim and heart-wrenching end to a young girl's life. The revelation sent shockwaves through the community, sparking outrage and sorrow in equal measure. Jennifer's untimely demise was not just a loss, but a heart-wrenching tragedy that underscored the fragility of human existence.
But there's relief. A lot of relief for the family, and I think for us.
As the dark and unsettling investigation into Jennifer's tragic death continued, a shocking possibility emerged. Jennifer might not have been the first victim of this heartless killer. Suspicion now hung heavily over another innocent young girl, 12-year-old Michaela Welch. Her disappearance had sent shockwaves through the community just 5 months earlier, casting a shadow of fear and uncertainty over the very same park. On a fateful day, March 26, 1986, Michaela set off with her 2 younger sisters to Tacoma's Puget Park around 10 in the morning. They were like a little team, Michaela on her bicycle, one sister pedalling alongside her, and the other happily skateboarding. Their destination was the inviting embrace of the park. Once they arrived, the younger girls scattered off to enjoy the simple pleasures of childhood, the kind of carefree play that fills your heart with joy. Meanwhile, Michaela had a responsibility to fulfill. At 11 a.m, she said goodbye to her sisters and rode back home, with a mission waiting for her, preparing lunch for her beloved siblings. When Michaela returned to the park, an emptiness greeted her where her younger sisters had been playing so happily just moments ago. They had decided to head to a nearby place to use the restroom. Worry began to creep in as Michaela looked around, realizing her sisters were nowhere in sight. Concerned for their safety, she carefully placed their lunch on a nearby table and embarked on a search to find her sisters, her steps heavy with anxiety and confusion. Time ticked ominously onwards, with her sisters returning to the park around 1:15 p.m, their laughter now silenced by growing dread. Michaela's bicycle lay alongside her sisters, an eerie testament to her absence. Panic set in, and they embarked on a desperate search. But Michaela remained elusive. By 3 p.m, the undeniable truth began to sink in. Michaela was missing. It was a terrifying realization for her and the community. By 3:10 p.m, the police arrived at the park, swiftly ready to confront the dark mystery that had consumed the young girl. One can only imagine the fear and confusion that must have gripped Michaela's younger sisters, knowing that their older sister had gone looking for them and had become a victim of a heartless individual. It was a haunting and unimaginable ordeal for them and for everyone who cared about Michaela. Amidst the limited leads in Michaela's case, a disturbing account came to light through a 13-year-old boy. He had seen something, a man lurking beneath the ominous Proctor Bridge, his gaze fixed on the girls with an unsettling intent. This man was like a shadow, a phantom figure hiding in the darkness. As night fell, concealing Michaela Welch's fate in a mystery that defied understanding. It was at the chilling hour of 11:30 p.m. when the discovery was made. Michaela's lifeless body was found in a desolate makeshift fire pit. A grim discovery unfolded a quarter-mile from the park's play area, revealing unimaginable horrors. Michaela had been brutally assaulted, bearing signs of savage beatings and a neck stab wound. Her suffering was undescribable, bringing immeasurable heartache to her loved ones. Back in those days, DNA analysis was not as advanced as it is today. When Jennifer Bastian's tragic story came to an end, the investigators couldn't forget the unsolved mystery of Michaela's case. These two cases were so similar that it seemed like they were looking for one bad person. Many years went by, even decades, but they still couldn't find the answers. In 2006, they found a man's DNA on Michaela's autopsy swabs, but couldn't find a match in the databases, leaving the mystery unsolved. Then, in 2013, they tested Jennifer's swimsuit found nearby and discovered different DNA, suggesting two suspects. The search intensified. They sought DNA samples from potential suspects, and Robert Washburn's name stood out. In 2017, they found him in Eureka, Illinois. At 60 years of age, Robert lived there as a dedicated caretaker of his disabled daughter. The stark knock of justice found him at his doorstep when the request for a DNA sample was made. Robert Washburn complied voluntarily. Little did he know that this seemingly routine act would soon unravel a dark and sinister secret buried deep in his past. The DNA test results were a big breakthrough. They found a match. This led to the quick arrest of Robert Washburn, who was charged with first-degree murder. He received a sentence of 26.5 years in prison, with the stipulation that he must serve a minimum of 20 years before becoming eligible for release.
Chief Bransdale said, "Are you sitting down?" So there was a chair right there, so I sat down and I said, "Yes." He said, "We have arrested the person or apprehended the person we feel is responsible for Michelle's murder." It was just like, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry.
The quest for justice in Michaela Welsh's case took a remarkable turn when technology and determination came together. In 2015, Tacoma police used snapshot DNA phenotyping to create a visual representation of the unknown suspect. A year later, Parabon provided reports that revealed possible physical traits like fair skin, brown eyes, and brown hair. They constructed a family tree from genetic matches, leading them to two suspects, brothers who had lived in Tacoma during Michaela's murder. The police closely monitored one of them, Gary Charles Hartman, and discreetly obtained a napkin he used, which held the key to solving the mystery. DNA analysis of the napkin yielded a chilling revelation: a match to the genetic material found at the crime scene. Gary Hartman, at the time of Michaela's murder, was a 34-year-old resident living just a mile from the park's entrance. Gary, a licensed registered nurse in Washington state, had a spotless criminal record. He worked as a community nurse specialist at Western State Hospital and shared his life with his third wife. In March 2022, a court found Gary Hartman guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced him to 26.5 years in prison. After less than 2 hours of testimony, the charge of first-degree rape was dropped. In the end, justice prevailed, but the scars of these heinous crimes will forever linger. Jennifer Bastian and Michaela Welch, two bright and promising lives, were extinguished by the cruelty of individuals who hid in the shadows. Their stories serve as a haunting reminder of the need for relentless pursuit of justice, even when decades pass and hope seems to wane.